Cameron Smith is a criminal or a magician, a pariah or prudent, depending on which side of golf's civil war you're on. But no one can deny that he's got the entire world looking at golf more closely, and that in itself is a huge achievement. Keep watching to find out how Smith is faring after his defection to LIV Golf. Firstly, Cameron Smith's phone call that started it all. A man worth hundreds of millions of dollars may be mistaken for a fan who bought a cheap t-shirt from a product truck to be able to say, "I was there," in a Jacksonville garage outside the white concrete wall where gardeners toil in the front yard. But his ability and stature are so noteworthy that even world number 1 Rory McIlroy, a fervent PGA Tour supporter, called him to urge him to reject Greg Norman's wealth and charges of sports washing by sticking with the system. Only a few days had passed since Smith had denied McIlroy the 150th Open Championship. Then he made the phone call that cemented golf's legacy in stone. Smith, who was returned home for a tour of the Claret Jug and to compete in the Australian PGA and Australian Open, declared that he has always respected Rory and likes what he says on the golf range. He offered him a congratulations, but there may have been a few small jabs in there. McIlroy was pleased with his performance and the success of the competition. Then they discussed the PGA Tour and LIV. He wanted Smith to be aware of the consequences before he made a choice. He obviously wanted him to stay on the PGA Tour and tried talking him out of leaving, but eventually he respected his decision. Moving on to what led him to consider LIV. The first time Cameron Smith entered the public consciousness in Australia was on a midwinter Monday morning this year when television newscasts and news websites exploded with coverage of one of the greatest sporting accomplishments in Australian history that hardly anyone watched. It's simple to recall where you were when Australia won the America's Cup, when Kathy Freeman captured the gold medal in Sydney, or when John Aloisi put an end to the World Cup's 3-decade-long suffering. Smith won the oldest trophy in golf, but most of Australia were asleep as McIlroy charged a daring chip shot for eagle past the pin on the 18th hole at St Andrews, the birthplace of the game, at 3:41 in the morning. Smith began the day 4 shots behind McIlroy and Victor Hovland of Norway. Smith made a 30 on the back 9. It appeared as though he was inserting a golf ball into a basketball hoop-sized hole. But as soon as he had a tearful phone conversation with his father Des, who had decided to remain in Australia that week, the focus of the story shifted to Norman and LIV Golf. All week, rumors had been circulating on the grand old fairways that Smith would soon become the first member of the top 10 to join LIV. A journalist asked if the deal was finalized, and Smith looked genuinely offended, perhaps for the first time. He said that he just won the British Open and he was being asked about that. He completely shut the journalist down after that. But Norman posted his congratulations for the golfer on social media almost immediately. Next up was the LIV deal made before the Open Championship.
Regarding the PGA Tour or LIV, it will come from Cameron Smith, not Cameron Percy.
Smith claims that he was clearly leaning one way, but it wasn't finalized in the contract yet. There was still a ton of work to be done and many things to consider. It felt like he hadn't slept in a while. He was constantly wondering what other people might think, as that was a really important factor for the player. He follows the rules quite well, so having to step away from something that big must have been really difficult. Smith confided in those who were closest to him, including his parents, his agents, childhood friend Wilkos, Adam Scott, Mark Leishman, Ian Baker Finch, and Norman. Smith also spoke with PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan, whose office was nearby. Smith would be the star player for a team made up of Australians, according to Norman, who promised to bring a LIV event to Australia. According to Monahan, the PGA Tour was looking for a lower-level Corn Ferry Tour event in Australia. The PGA Tour, according to Smith, is a fantastic event. The tour is amazing and accomplishes many wonderful things. However, when you consider that Adam Scott has been among the top golfers in the world for the past 20 years, it seems really odd for the PGA Tour to not have a tournament dedicated to him. Then there are men like Jason Day, Mark Leishman, and many others who could have helped so much. However, it probably isn't very profitable for them, and that's essentially the reason behind everything. Finally, how profitable has it been for him so far? One of the few LIV defectors, Smith has admitted publicly that money had a role in his choice. He heard Norman's business plan, according to which Smith would assemble his own team and turn it into a commercial group. No matter where they place in each tournament, every player is guaranteed a check. Smith said it was really stressful. He claimed that over the past few months, he's spent more time in boardrooms and offices than on the golf course. However, he told his agent that putting the ball in the hole in the fewest number of shots is his top priority. priority. If this continues, he'll need to consider alternative options. Above all, they're all rivals who merely want to overpower one another. Smith says that LIV seems to have a different vibe when they're not playing golf. But when they're playing golf, all they want to do is win. The value of the awards is irrelevant, as winning is what fuels the player's competitive spirit. This week, Smith made his way back to his native country with a short list of priorities: good coffee, backyard cricket, meat pies, a checkup on the Subaru he's converting to a racing car, the chance to get back behind the wheel of a manual transmission, and an attempt to set a Guinness World Record for the biggest golf coaching clinic. After his break, he must focus on winning the Australian PGA and Australian Open, two special competitions in which he can gain points for the global rankings. In other news, Cameron Smith opens up about LIV. Cameron Smith, a golf champion from Brisbane who controversially switched to the LIV Tour, says he's happy with his decision and is looking forward to a rare reunion in Australia following a successful and, frankly, lucrative year. Following a year of career best achievements and prize money combined with his contentious decision to quit the PGA Tour, Smith is returning home for the Australian summer. The 29-year-old mullet man will compete against Oceania's best for the first time in 3 years at the Fortinet PGA Tournament and Australian Open after signing with Greg Norman's Saudi-backed LIV Golf in August for $140 million. However, he claims that the year leading up to the most important choice of his life and career was not without a great deal of stress. Smith said that he spoke to a lot of wonderful people for advice, including his parents and a lot of good friends. And now he realizes he has zero regrets. Making such a professional change in the beginning was undoubtedly frightening for the player because it was a new tour. He believes that the fans adore it, which is crucial for the sport because it encourages a lot of people to play golf, even if it's only to have a beer and give someone the occasional thump. More people watching golf is always great. Finishing with how LIV has been treating him. In September, Smith won his first LIV competition, holding out former world number 1 Dustin Johnson to earn a huge $4 million payday. The 2022 British Open champion claims that even though some PGA Tour players disagree with his choice, they still get together and meet up for a beer now and then. Many of his countrymen, including longtime friend Mark Leishman and tour rookie Jed Morgan, have joined Smith in his LIV quest. Smith earned an additional $2 million for coming in second at the Miami Championship while serving as the captain of LIV's Punch GC team. The 5-time PGA Tour champion likes the relaxed LIV atmosphere, which includes around-the-course music, enthusiastic spectators, and the personal DJ that's always available. Although it could take more than 10 years to see a definitive return following an influx of capital for the startup phase, he predicts that LIV will become a long-term success. The Australian golfer, who lives in luxury at his home in Florida, has invested loads of his money in fast cars and fishing boats for his leisure time. The player's champion claims that despite a huge transition and overwhelming success, he hasn't changed as he heads back to his house at Wantirna Golf Club at the Claret Jug. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. What did you think of Cameron Smith's decision to move to the LIV Tour, and how does the future of the golfer look? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.